Hi, I'm Andrew, an entrepreneur and a computer science student,
Hi, I'm Raveen, a psychology major student.
and you're now listening to the Ink Thoughts podcast, where we ponder and talk about incongruous thoughts ranging from our daily life to the human mind.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ink Thoughts podcast. Hope everyone have been doing well. Yeah, alright. So today I'm going to talk about pushing through your limits. Have you ever had those moments where when you're running, let's say you have always completed 5 km within 30 minutes, but whenever it is near 5 km, your mind started having this debate whether or not to continue running to exceed the 5 km or celebrating the 5 km that you did is good enough. Well, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with celebrating the 5 km. It is just personal preference and the way of living, whether or not you want to keep growing your capability or competence in doing something. And hence the topic about pushing through your limits. So, if for those who opted for continue running, now your body started sending all sorts of signal to your brains, telling your brain that your body is very tired, your legs are very sore. And at this point, you probably are running out of breath for a bit too. So, do you choose to continue running? This happened to be quite a lot when I'm running, and the nearest experience that I had was just 2 days ago. Before my brain started that debate, I quickly told myself that I'm gonna do a 7 km that day. Although then my body keeps sending all soreness signals to my brain by pretend like this, not there, and just keep going. Of course, I accomplished it. However, I have to say that this is not the first time of me running a 7 km. I did 10 to 12 km before, so I somewhat know that I definitely can finish it. Just that how much time it might take me to do it and how fast do I want to do it. And of course, I one of the reason that is making me feel like maybe I don't want to do it this time is that I feel like I couldn't do it as quickly as the one I did before. So the, not not exactly perfectionist, but somehow related to that still play a part in this. Yeah. And if the same thing happened to someone who never did this before, it might be a bit more challenging. But I have to say, it is not impossible. I mean, to push you through that. Well, we all crave for growth, at least most of us do, if not all. But sometimes we might feel like we're trapped in our comfort zone and don't feel like pushing through our limits, and you might not even notice it because it is just so comfortable staying in your comfort zone. It is the human nature to always choose something easier and avoid as much pain as possible when you need to choose something. If you don't consciously think about it or analyze it before you decide doing something, yeah, our mind and body usually react directly to those things or those ideas that you're comfortable with instead of challenging yourself with something harder. And when we talk about pushing through your limits, it does mean that you have to force yourself to, not exactly force, but somehow make yourself to do something more difficult or harder progressively. Yeah. Well, it is understandable from the evolutionary perspective that the unknown is always associated with danger and harm, and hence evolutionarily, a body will automatically avoid it as much as possible. The same goes to the pain that you anticipated that you might need to go through. So when we understand that the foundation of our fear towards this is because of how our body automatically wanted to protect us, then we can start challenging our mind that, you know what, it's actually alright. We will be alright trying to do this. And after some time of doing it, you will then be able to do it so well. And of course, every single time after you accomplished it, the satisfaction acts as a reward to you, and that positive reinforcement cycle will keep on going as long as you continue doing it. However, there's of course the other side of things that we need to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes it is just because we are lazy and hence we take our limit as our excuses to avoid doing something. If this is the case, you have to be honest with yourself that if you don't improve, you might not get to a higher point in life that you want to. If you don't try to do something, you will always be kept at where you are today. If you're alright with it, sure, go ahead. If you're not, then it is time to do something. Pushing through limits is obviously not easy. You have to challenge your thoughts and put in the effort to carry out the action. But if you want something bad enough, you definitely be able to challenge yourself. However, always remember to come back to self-care after trying your best in doing difficult things, just so that you won't get burned out. This reminds me of being disciplined. Being disciplined a lot of the time requires us to delay our reward. This could be difficult for people because who doesn't want easy things and doing things that you want and enjoy, right? But sometimes, although certain things people do disciplinary are what they enjoy doing, but a lot of the time it is not the case. There are still things that people don't particularly enjoy that much, but they know how important it is that they keep going and do it. So if that's the case, a lot of the time many people might have given up at this point. It is not rare to see that oftentimes it is all those people with very high discipline who get to complete all this and end up achieving the success. Of course, we all know that it is something that if it is something that you enjoy doing, you might have higher possibility to achieve better results too. Well, after so much of stories and um, trying to make sense of all this, now we should move on to the how. Well, first you have to know what is your goal. It can be big, it can be small, as long as you understand clearly what it is. Then set yourself some SMART goals, just so that you have a good idea of what you're gonna do and where you're heading to. Of course, keep reviewing it along the way and improve the process where necessary. Now, after giving it some attempts, you might start seeing some failures. It is not a must to go through failures that sometimes you might encounter, but just that sometimes you might encounter it. Well, at this point, try to embrace it. Allow yourself to fail and learn from that. You will be better next time, definitely, for sure. Don't ever beat yourself down. Alright? Well, like what I said earlier, the pain, the challenges, and now the failures that you've been through, you probably might have a very strong sense of uncomfortableness. It will be hard at the beginning, but try to learn to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Sometimes shifting your mind to focus on something positive throughout the process might help too. Well, it could be just something very, very small, but it can act as a very powerful, positive thing that lighten up the whole experience. Try it and let me know what do you think. Well, I would say for myself, I wouldn't say I always push myself through my limits. There are definitely times that I feel lazy to challenge myself or even just solely to face the reality itself. Sometimes you just don't feel like doing that. I have to be honest. Well, I'm not particularly proud of myself during these moments, but once in a while, it is allowed. Well, that's the important point. Once in a while, not always, not all the time. At the end of the day, all of us are just humans, of course. If I could be 24/7 disciplined and doing whatever needed without feeling like a robot, that makes things a lot more predictable. Who doesn't want it, right? However, I would say at least I see myself pushing myself sometimes. I would love to increase how much I'm pushing myself, especially after reflecting on this topic today. Let's all try to become a better version of ourselves from today onwards. Comment down below if you have something interesting or any interesting stories to share about pushing yourself through your limits. I can't wait to hear from you guys. Well, most importantly, before I end today's episode, I wanted to say that don't let any limiting beliefs stop you. You can be anything and everything that you want to. Good luck. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you have any thoughts or any ideas that you'd like to share with me, feel free to comment down below or send us a DM. If not, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed, do share with your friends and family and leave us a review on the Apple Podcast. If you are not using an Apple device, you can leave a review on the Apple Podcast website with a link in the show notes. If you have any feedback or thoughts which you hope that we'll discuss in the future, feel free to email them to us at hello@incthoughts.com, or alternatively, you can send us a private message on our Facebook, Instagram or Twitter with the username of incthoughtspod. Thanks again, and see you all next week. Bye bye.